Hey traders and investors, it's Serge Berger here. Today we have to look at the Nasdaq 100. Apple is set to report its earnings on Tuesday, and we've already seen some earnings come out of Microsoft and Google last week, last Thursday. The initial reactions were negative, and I still think these Nasdaq 100 components, or at least the large ones, will continue to underperform the broader market. To give you a little bit of perspective on all of this, let me show you guys a relative chart that I just made. And what I did on this chart is I took the Nasdaq 100, so the QQQ ETF, I divided by the SPY. And you can see basically that relative outperformance we saw throughout 2015 of some of those large FANG stocks like the Facebooks, Amazons, Microsofts of this world, those kind of things. That kept this ratio going, and ultimately that topped out, and we started to see relative weakness of those Nasdaq, at least some of the Nasdaq 100 stocks, at least heavily weighted ones, starting last December, and we continue to see relative weakness here. So this has now left this sort of head and shoulders top formation. Doesn't mean we have to fall apart, but it does mean that the relative weakness continues, and that trend remains very much intact. So if we look at this now and first quickly look at Microsoft and Google, you'll see those initial reactions here in the weekly chart, very negative weekly bar, both on Microsoft and on Google. And on the daily bars, if I were to show you that, you can see here also on Google on the daily chart, both Google and Microsoft gapped lower on last Friday. So this also helped to put some pressure on the Nasdaq 100. Let me quickly give you guys a little bit of perspective here. We continue to see those lows being held. The 2009 support line held once again in February, and we've had a very sharp ricochet move. But I continue to think that ultimately this is going to start running out of steam, and we will get to a point where we'll make a lower high. So this is not yet confirmed. We need to probably see Apple report. Maybe we need to see Amazon.com report as well, which is the third largest holding of the Nasdaq 100 QQQs. But if you look at this on the daily charts, you can see the Nasdaq 100 here very steep ricochet rally, and I would suspect that ultimately these highs up here from 2015, or even if they are marginally overcome somehow, this sort of island top formation that we've seen here is probably going to remain very important and significant as a price level. So to me, any further selling confirmation here by, again, particularly Apple after earnings would certainly make this Nasdaq 100 a short. Certainly in relative terms, likely also in absolute terms. So I'm looking for Apple to report first and then make a decision on this. But this continues to be an interesting story to play out, which is, again, so far in 2016, very much the opposite of what we've seen in 2015. So please like this video, guys. You'd do me a huge favor if you give me a like. I could move up in the YouTube ranks if you just give me a like. Otherwise, subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.